Hey, thank you for watching. My name's Rick, and today we're going to go over my 2024 Tesla solar production numbers. We're going to look at my electric bill and compare all that stuff to 2023 and give you an idea what we think of the solar after 2 years, essentially. So my system, if you haven't watched any of my other videos, 9.6 kilowatt system, 26 solar panels, 2 Powerwall 2s, and the total cost for everything, install, permits, etc., was $39,408. The federal incentives and state incentives amounted to a little over $12,000. So we paid a total of about $27,408 out of pocket, and we just paid it outright. We did not do a loan. My system was promised to produce 15.5 megawatt hours of energy, and this year we so far have produced 15.9 megawatts, and we're not quite through the end of December. As you know, we just got a couple days left. If you look at the little video I'm going to show you right now, this is Tesla is doing this kind of recap of how your solar did for the year. Some of these numbers are off when you actually look on the app as far as production goes. I don't know when they ended the count of numbers, but it's definitely a little bit off. There are a few caveats to consider when we talk about this system. Number one, my house was built in the early 70s. It's slump block and no insulation on the brick. So in the summer it's hot, in the winter it's cold, and it's hard to heat and cool, especially the back of the house. So that's something to consider. Number two, in August of this year, mid-August, I added my Model 3 to the family, and we also have a Model Y. And the only vehicle we had that used electricity at the time of developing this system in mid 2022 was our Volt, which we don't have anymore. So that's a couple things to consider as far as when you see some of the costs and things like that. The third thing is electric prices have gone up about 10% since we have started with the time of use program. Once you get solar in Arizona, that's what you use. We also don't have good sellback, so it doesn't really make sense to overproduce and sell back to the grid because it's not great, at least here in Tucson. There are some people up in the Phoenix area who are grandfathered in, but we are not. So that was one of the reasons for getting the power walls, to offset the cost during high peak pricing. So that's kind of what we use our power walls for. I keep a little bit in reserve in case we have an outage, and I think we've had like 3 or 4 outages since we put the system in. The longest one was an hour. Generally they're like 1 or 2 minutes, just something flashes through. And it is very seamless when the system kicks off and back on. One of the other things I wanted to talk about real quickly, and I'm going to put up a quick video of my Tesla app, is we do have these unusual power production drop-offs in the summertime. And I've had a lot of different people respond with what they think is the issue. I have not been able to pinpoint the issue. I literally just got off chat with Tesla Solar again, and I knew it was going to be a useless endeavor because it was when we first put the system in. Back in 2023, they said, well, yeah, we see that your system is doing that, but since you're making the amount of power we said you would make with the system, we're not going to do anything about it, or we're not going to address it any further. So I just went on right now, and I'm going to put a little bit of the chat up on the screen. And it was the same old, same old. It's like, you're making 100% power. That's great, blah, blah, blah. I already know that. And I just said, look, I just want to know why you think I'm having these power drop-offs. I said, I've kind of come to the conclusion that it's heat related. But if you look at the graph, you see how it goes up, down, and almost a pattern. And if it was heat, you would think, and I know solar panels reduce the amount of production when they get too hot. That makes sense to me. But you would almost, in my opinion, I would see, instead of those up and down of the graph, I would see a drop off until it cools off, or like a drop off all day, not up and down. So that's kind of weird. I don't understand it. I don't think I'm ever going to get an answer. Someone said, who I believe is involved with solar, that it could be TEP modulating the signal, which that's possible. I don't even know what that means, but it's a possible thing, I guess. So again, if anyone has a reason for those power drop-offs, let me know. I mean, the good news is we're still producing more power than they promised, so that's a good thing, but we could be producing even more if we had smoother graphs throughout the day. Just like it's like June a little bit, July, August, September, even a little bit into October, not much, but a little bit. And then the rest of like all December, November is perfect, but it's also shorter days. The sun's at a different angle. It's clearly not as warm, 25 degrees cooler, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm leaning towards heat. I could be wrong, but that's what I think the issue is. All right, so with all of that said, let's get into the production numbers for 2024 and the costs and all that stuff. All right, I know numbers are tough in videos, so I'm gonna try to do this the best that I can. And I apologize if this is hard to follow, but I'm not great at making graphs or spreadsheets and all that stuff. As you can see on the left-hand side are the months. The first little column there is electric bill 2023, the monthly kilowatt hours of production for 2023, and then how many kilowatt hours we used according to TEP. And this clearly does not take into account all the energy that we pulled out of the power walls, because we use the power walls significantly every day. And then electric bill 2024, kilowatt hour production 2024, and then kilowatt hours used, etc. So if you compare the months, like, so you'll see zeros at the beginning there, 2023, January, February, as far as the kilowatt hours used. For some reason, TEP, because we were not on the time of use plan, it doesn't show those anymore. I don't know why, and I can't go back beyond 2023, so I can't really show you a graph of how expensive my electric bills were before we got solar. But for example, January and February of 2023, we had electric bills in the $200 range, which my wife and I cannot figure that out because we have gas heat. Yeah, we put a bunch of Christmas lights out, but they're all LEDs. So not really sure what the deal is there, unless it was just that because of the peak hours of use. 6 to 9 in the evening is obviously when most people get home from work, your lights on, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so that's a quick example. In the summers, we're looking at high 300s, low 400s for like June, July, August, September, that kind of thing. So let's look at 2024. You can see, obviously I still have electric bills. A lot of people are like, why do you still have an electric bill? The system is designed to cover, they say, like 96% of your overall costs. And this kind of comes back to that whole point I made about we did not have the Model Y when we designed the system, and we definitely didn't have the Model 3, but that's new, August of this year. But you can see my highest bill was $215.73. Some people might be like, holy crap, I can't believe you spent that much on solar and you still have an electric bill. I totally get it. I understand. But keep in mind, September was probably close to $400 on a normal year. So, and electric prices have gone up. I wish I had bills to show you previous, but I don't. So let's see, anything else of note? You can see, I think our best month of production, if I remember correctly, yeah, it looks like May, the last couple of years, 1797 kilowatt hours in May of 23 and 1974 kilowatt hours May of 2024. So all good stuff. And then this far column over here, the kilowatt hours used, that includes peak and off peak. And I didn't think it was necessary to break that down for you to see that. I wish I could tell you how much energy was pulled out of my power wall each day, but I haven't been able to figure that out yet by the time I made this video. I was just talking about that I didn't really know how to figure out how much energy is discharged out of the power walls every day, but I just figured it out. So let me show you. So we're gonna hit play on my video here, and then we'll go from there. All right, so as you can see here, we're just basically gonna scroll through July, and you can see there discharged and charged. So it's showing you how much the power wall is discharged every day and how much we charge it every day. So it does give you an idea, and it looks like it's anywhere from like 4 kilowatt hours. The highest I saw for the month was up into the 30s. So it just depends on the day, and that's all stuff that's not included in my electric bill and or on the graph that I made for you to kind of see how much energy we were producing and using. So hopefully this helps that. If we didn't, if we took the 18,000 off of purchasing an installation of power walls, would we have been better off? I don't know. We definitely would have had the system paid off sooner. but then you're losing that benefit of covering those extra costs during peak time. So I don't know. Total production for 2024, you can see 15.9 megawatt hours. Again, I think it was 15.5 that they promised, so we definitely overproduced what they said, which is great. In 2023, it was 14.4, but that did not include only like 3 days in February, and the system wasn't active in January, so that's the difference there. Our bill in 2023 was $1,246. Our bill this year was $964.43. So the bill is definitely down, and with electric prices having gone up and adding the additional car, I think we've had a pretty good savings from last year to this year, even though it only looks like about $300. I still think it's more just because of the increase in prices. I didn't go back and calculate what it would have been because I don't know. It's so confusing with the peak, on peak, all that peak and off peak and all that stuff. So anyway, you can kind of get an idea by looking at this graph and comparing different months. There is good production during the summer, even though it's hot. But I really feel like those numbers could be higher if we could figure out, at least 100 kilowatt hours higher a month if you could figure out what's causing the issue. So hopefully this graph makes sense. Again, if you'd like to have this graph emailed to you, I don't know if it'll help you at all, but I'm happy to do it. Just send me your email address and I'll do it for you. One of the other things I find interesting, really February is not a terrible month for production. And obviously production increases there. April and May are really good months, and then it kind of stays pretty consistent for June and July. And then August is when, it's really getting pretty warm around here. You have that little bit of a drop off. And then September is pretty similar. And then, December has been very consistent. Like November, December, the graphs are almost perfect, but we're only producing like 28 kilowatt hours a day right now. I think November was in the 30s. So it's just a combination of the sun being at a different angle. Our panels don't move. They're actually set, at a very slight angle to get the eastern sun or the rising sun and the setting sun. So, if you had moving panels, it would obviously be more efficient, but you're also looking at a hell of a lot more cost to do something like that. But overall, we're happy with the system. We purchased this system to kind of help offset increases in prices over time. It's going to be a lot of years before we recoup our investment in this system. And, if prices double, then we'll be a little more protected. But all right, so with all my blabbing there, let's just do the quick totals again. Electric bill total this year, $964.43. We produced 15.9 megawatt hours of energy, and we used 7.174 megawatt hours of energy. So according to this little video that Tesla provided us, the recap for the year, we were self-powered 62% of the time. It was an energy savings of $1,500 essentially, and that's a little early. It's probably a little more than that. Our solar offset was 91%, and on here it says we generated 15.5 megawatt hours, but when you calculate it out looking at the actual app, it's 15.9. So it says we stored 4.8 megawatt hours in our power walls this year. And I know a lot of the days we don't use all the energy in there, and I think we're saving right now we're keeping 20% back in case there's some kind of an emergency or drop off or something. But so we're using significant power from the power walls as well. That's not necessarily implicated in these graphs. But kind of interesting, our biggest home loads were at 5 a.m. I think that's because my wife's car was charging then. 15.9 megawatt hours. Our home was 100% powered by the sun for 2,619 hours. And let's see, we didn't use any energy from the grid for a total of 2,954 hours. And our home usage was net zero for 148 days this year. So that's kind of cool. They didn't do that last year. It's a new kind of quick thing that they do at the end of the year now. It was another successful year as far as meeting what they said they would provide with the solar system that they gave us, or that we ordered. Could we have added more panels, or should we have added more panels? I don't honestly know if the cost benefit would be better. Since we added the 2 cars, maybe a few more panels would be worth it, but hard to say. And I have not looked into, at this point, adding more panels. I think that's probably an option, but is it worth it? I don't know. It wouldn't be. I think it'd be nice to do like a home solar system on my wood shop and garage that I have, just to kind of offset some of that, and maybe have a backup system that everything could run off of that. I'm not really smart enough to do all that stuff, but it would be interesting to research. I just don't really have the time to do it, but at some point it would be interesting. So 15.9 megawatt hours this year, that's pretty cool. Electric bill of $964. I know in the past our electric bills, I think it was around $1,500 to $2,000 every year. Some years a little bit more. We use a lot of energy in the summer just trying to cool this house, and even, you know, it's not like we crank our thermostat super low to do it. It's just the house is super inefficient. And like my master bedroom's way down the hall there, and it's always warmer down there than it is in the rest of the house, even though the thermostat's down the hall. So old houses, poor efficiency. It just is what it is. But anyway, hopefully this video was somewhat helpful to you, and sorry for the rambling. If you have any questions that I didn't cover, let me know. Or if there's something else you'd like to see that I didn't cover, or if you have some suggestions, let me know. Happy to do it. Happy to read over anything you guys have to say. So anyway, hope you guys have a blessed New Year and a Merry Christmas. If you don't celebrate Christmas, Happy Holidays. You guys all take care, and I really appreciate you watching. Have a great year. Take care.